Hi, Allison.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm good. Well, I wanted to say hi to all of our customers out there. My name is Jen. I am a librarian at the Whitehall branch, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. Welcome to the January Teen Spotlight program. We're talking about test prep this month, especially the ACT, SAT, and I know it can be a little stressful, just a little. So I want to let you know that a little bit of prep and a lot of excellent self-care can make a really big difference in your score. So a few weeks ago, my colleagues and I got together and took a moment to remember all the great questions we've been asked by teens about the ACT and SAT. So today we have an expert with us, Allison, from the Princeton Review to help us answer these questions. Hi again, Allison.
I don't know.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at the Princeton Review?
Yes, I work at the Princeton Review with high school students and their families as they prepare for college and what tests they need to take and the steps they need to go through to get there.
I am so glad you're doing that and helping people through this process because it can be pretty scary and overwhelming. So,
Yes.
um,
Step.
yeah. Well, I sent you a list of topics that my colleagues and I came up with, and I think you put together some information for us. Would you like to share that now?
Yes. So I'll first start. One of the first questions was the ACT or the SAT, which one should I take? And that's kind of an important question. A lot of students ask us all the time. Colleges pretty much view the ACT and the SAT in the same light. So they aren't so much concerned with which test you took, but how well you did on that test. However, the difference can be how well you do on each test. Some students do better on the ACT, students do better on the SAT. So I'm actually just going to pull up a quick slide to show you guys the difference between the tests to help you decide which test you're going to want to take. Oops, wrong slide. Sorry, wrong slide. Let me pull
That's
up the
all
other
right.
one. There we go. And so this slide will show us a little bit about the differences between the ACT and the SAT. As you can see, the ACT is exclusively multiple choice. That's pretty much you just filling in the ovals. The SAT, it's mostly multiple choice, but there are what we call grid-in answers. So there are going to be, it's a little bit different in that light. The content areas, if you see the ACT, there's going to be English, math, writing, and science. For the SAT, it's only math, reading, and writing. However, if you're not a science person and the science makes you nervous, do not rule out the ACT because of that. The science on the ACT is really more about reading comprehension. So you can teach yourself to do well on the science by knowing reading, doing well on reading comprehension, rather than actually knowing the science. The scoring is also different between the two tests. The ACT, each section, you're given a score between 1 and 36. Then at the end of the test, you get a composite score, which is an average of all those sections. It's important to know that colleges are not going to look at your section scores. They're just going to want to see that final composite score. The SAT, there are two sections, and you'll be given a score between 200 and 800. Those two scores are added together for a total score between 400 and 1600. The timing is also different. For the ACT, it's 2 hours and 55 minutes, 3 hours and 35 minutes if you add in the essay. For the SAT, it's 3 hours and 50 minutes with the essay. We do recommend that you take the essay. Not all colleges look at the essay on the test. However, if you're applying to multiple colleges and one does and you didn't take it, you'd have to go back and take an entire test just to do that essay. You can't just take an essay. So we recommend do it first on the first time, get it done and not worry about it. The number of questions, the ACT, you're looking at 215 questions. The SAT, it's 154. So if you kind of look at the timing on this, you have a little bit more time per question on the SAT, a little less on the ACT. However, know that with the math questions for the SAT, it's a little bit more reading comprehension on those math questions. You have to read through a math problem in order to figure out what the question even is. So even though you got a little bit more time, it takes a little bit more time on the SAT. That's why a lot of students kind of prefer the ACT because it's a little bit more given point blank on what the question is actually asking for that math. Also know for the SAT, there is a section where you can't use a calculator. For the math sections for the ACT, you get to use a calculator on that entire math section. The SAT has a little bit less of the geometry and trigonometry that you might see on the ACT, but you don't get to use a calculator, which is why it's not on there. So just depending on your comfortability on your math section for ACT versus SAT and how comfortable you are using a calculator or how comfortable you are just doing regular paper and pen arithmetic can kind of help you decide whether you'd be better off on the ACT or SAT.
Sure.
All right, now I'll stop the share on my slide and go back.
Thank you so much. There's a lot of differences that I wasn't expecting. You mentioned they both have an optional writing part that you suggest that students do. Um, are there any differences between the ACT writing and the SAT writing part?
The essays are pretty much about the same. You are given a little bit more time on the SAT. And when you do the essay on the test, do it like you would any essay for class. You're going to need an intro, you'll need a body, and then you'll need a conclusion. Keep that the same when you go to attack your essay on either test. But for the most part, the essay is going to be the same. Again, a lot of colleges are going to want you to do their own essay when you apply. So they may not even look at this one. However, we recommend that you still do it on the chance that a college you apply to wants it.
Sure. All right. Well, good to know. Those are skills that teens already have because I know that they're doing them in school. So thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. A few extra questions for you.
Yes.
So, is there anything special our teen customers should know about taking the test in the time of COVID?
Yes. In a time of COVID, things have been very different this year. A lot of students haven't been able to test. A lot of colleges have gone what they call test optional. So it's very important as a student that you do your research on the schools you intend to apply to. Test optional means a lot of different things to a lot of different schools. Some schools are absolutely not even going to look at test scores. They're only going to look at GPAs and your transcript. Other schools, test optional means we kind of really prefer it. You should also know that sometimes merit-based scholarships are based on these test scores. So chances are you probably, if you're going to apply to multiple schools, you're probably going to end up needing to take one of these tests because one of the schools might require it, another might not. Another thing to consider also is your GPA and transcript. What does it look like? If you have a great GPA and a great transcript with all AP or IB courses, you might not need to take it. However, if you're kind of on the border of getting in, that test score could be what gets you in. Imagine going against a student with a similar transcript and a similar GPA, but they don't submit a test score. The school is likely going to give you a little bit extra credit for considering the fact that you did take the test. So it is very important to consider all those things. Again, research the school, talk to admissions officers. You know, it's kind of been a nice thing during COVID that you actually have the opportunity to visit more schools. Every school has kind of amped up their online college tours, and you have more options to talk to admissions officers online that you didn't have before. You can talk to more professors. They have these things available to you and take advantage of it. You can research more schools than you ever would before. So make sure you're out there asking these questions before you take a big test and prepare for it that you might not need it, or that you didn't prepare at all and find out the last minute you do need it.
All right, that's good information. Thanks. Piggybacking on that, what advice would you give someone that isn't sure whether or not they're even going to go to college? Maybe they're thinking about a trade school or just jumping into a career after high school.
We absolutely recommend that while you're in high school, you take this test. You might need it later, so it's better to have it. That way, right now, you're still in your school mode, you're reading, testing mode, you're used to this kind of a thing. Take it now because you're more likely to get a higher score. Also, when you then decide to go to college and you need that test, it's one less thing you need to do. It's already there. You just need to get that application in.
Sure. Okay. So research your schools and take the test.
Yes.
Sounds
Absolutely.
good.
And a lot of your schools, hopefully this spring, will be able to offer in-school testing. I know for a lot of schools that comes up in February. So it's a great opportunity to take it right then.
Okay. All right. Can you share a story with us? Inspire us with a story.
Yes. One of our success stories is a student who had a 28. She got a study guide. It's just a big, thick book that she worked hard, got through the study guide, and raised her score on her own studying to a 36, which is a perfect score on the ACT, and you don't see all the time. So, I mean, just her hard work. And for students out there, books are available to help you study. And if you go to your local library, they do have these books there for you. They're a great resource. Reach out to them and they can probably get you a study book to help you study on your own and prepare for these tests.
Yay, your local library. Allison, you're completely right. We have those books here, plenty of those books here. So please stop by your library, whether it be in person or through our curbside service, and we would be happy to grab those books for you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, for more information, please check out the other links in the monthly spotlight to find additional resources, but also some advice from other teams that have already taken the test. Also remember, other than the library books, the library is here for you digitally. So if you need any help studying or help with your homework, anytime the library is open, you can go to our school help page and chat with one of our Homework Help Center specialists. Next month's Teen Spotlight is all about career exploration. So you'll hear about a variety of different careers. People are going to talk about what they do every day and maybe show you around a little bit. Until then, thank you, Allison. We appreciate your time. Stay safe, take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.